Item number 2 will be pulled, considering the 2017 Water Comp Plan Update Contract. So we're pulling that from our action agenda tonight. And thank you for coming out. The first item on the business is for us to let you know what we're doing. And so, Commissioner Moore, did you have something on your agenda for this week?
Yes, I do. I have League of Women Voters tomorrow. The subject of the talk is on our forests, so that's very relevant. League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan group of men and women who are who work to examine political issues and rarely give their opinion, but sometimes they do. So I have that tomorrow. I have a Mason Transit Authority board meeting. There is a FEMA update at North Mason High School that I will not be able to attend because of the Mason Transit Board meeting. On Thursday, I will be attending a reception by the Olympia Master Builders and Thurston Realtors. And that's it for the week.
Thank you very much. Commissioner McDowell?
Well, I came down and visited the back room today. Thank you for the coffee and cookies. That made it real cozy.
What's the back room is? Yeah, you should probably tell us.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I went and update on the Basin 3 plans.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was good. It was very, I went out like this. I can't believe all those lines and numbers and everything. My head was spinning. But it was very interesting to take a peek at that. Tuesday, I have my CareNet board meeting, and also I will be attending the school board meeting. They're going to be starting to interview architects for the new schools. So I'll be going to that Tuesday night. Wednesday, I have Memorial Hall board meeting. Thursday, brief with Ryan, and then Thursday night, I will also be at the Olympia Master Builders elected officials reception. And Saturday, I've been invited to go to a thing called ALICE, and I still don't know what ALICE stands for, but do you know?
I will be there as well.
Okay.
I don't know offhand, but
It's a forum that will be sharing the economic, the population, the 40% of our population that just squeezes by barely and where they are financially. So that should be interesting to go to. And that's my week.
Thank you very much. And I will be out of town for 10 days, so I won't be able to be here to attend any meetings anyway, so I will be back. That concludes our commission weekly reports. Next is the item under called a general public comment. If anyone would like to speak, this is your opportunity. And so, Vicki, look, do we have somebody signed in to speak tonight?
We do not have anyone.
Okay. I don't see anybody coming forward, so we will move forward with the next item, which is our consent agenda. And so are we ready for reading of the consent
Yes.
agenda?
Yes.
Could we please have that?
Consent agenda, vouchers numbered 3444 through 3580 and 3786 through 13786 through 13808 in the amount of $631,464.77. Voucher numbered 13890 in the amount of $6,948.23. Vouchers numbered 13901 through 13987 in the amount of $159,474.45.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
I second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The agenda passes. Thank you very much. First item under our action agenda is going to be something that we've talked about, and it's an alley vacation resolution. Vacation? Like vacation, I guess. And that's Craig Gregory from our Public Works Department is going to tell us about that.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. As we talked about last week, discussed the alley vacation for Olson Busaka LLC at the alley between Harvard and Grant and 7th and 8th. And unless you have any additional questions, we would like to move forward with that vacation and set a public hearing.
Because this is an action item, we do allow the public to speak if they have any questions or concerns about this before we make a motion to adopt this. So if there's anybody from the public, this is the opportunity. And if we have nobody signed in, then I would ask my fellow commissioners if they have any other concerns or questions about this.
None.
And we've been talking about it, so I think it's a good thing to do, and I believe that we concur. So, if we are ready for a motion, we could have a motion on this.
I move that we approve resolution number 1098-0317 by signing the resolution and setting a public hearing for the alley vacation.
I second it.
There's a motion and a second. All those, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. At this time, Craig Gregory is going to talk to us a little bit why we pulled item number 2 off the action agenda.
Mayor, Commissioners, before we move on, if I could just clarify one thing.
Absolutely.
The public hearing will be set for the 17th of April. Instead of the resolution that you have in front of you, I have a new one for you that states the 17th instead of the 18th. The 18th is a Tuesday, and we will be able to do that public hearing at a commission meeting, which will be an evening meeting on the 17th.
Make the record agree with that statement. That's out of Robert's rules there, so. Does that clarify that for you? And
Yes,
me?
it does.
Okay, thank you very much. And then you wanted to explain to us why item number 2 was pulled.
So item number 2 was pulled. We have been negotiating back and forth with Corollo. We thought we were to an agreement as far as the language in the contract, not the pricing, but they wanted to add some clarifying language into the contract, which we had to get past our city attorney, Kathleen, to approve that. And we just got that back to Corollo today. So they had a problem with, they had a staff member that was out today and couldn't get that back to us. So as soon as we get that signed contract back with the language approved by our city attorney and approved by Corollo, we will get that in front of you as soon as possible.
Thank you for that. And you are still up because you are also item number 3. So
Again, last week we talked about this item, and it was to add the protest annexation into the connections portion of our Shelton Municipal Code. Right now, it is only in the code if the utilities are extended, not necessarily just connected to. So we're proposing to add that language of the protest for annexation into the connection portion of the Shelton Municipal Code.
and you discussed that last week. You briefed us thoroughly upon that subject last week. Before we answer or ask any questions at this time, it is again a action item, agenda item, so we want to make sure anybody from the public that might want to speak about this, this would be that opportunity. Is anybody signed in to speak? Seeing none, then if we have any other further questions about this,
No.
I think it looks like we concur that that's a wonderful item to move forward on. So at this time, not only are we going to have a motion, but we're going to ask for the second reading of this ordinance. So to make sure that I follow everything in its right order, do we want the second reading first, then a motion? Okay, could we please have a second reading?
Ordinance number 1895-0317, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington relating to utility service agreements for lands in the city's urban growth area, amending section 17.10.010 and adding 2 new sections, 14.16.110 and 15.24.110 to the Shelton Municipal Code.
So is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1895-0317 to amend Shelton Municipal Code 17.10.010.
And I'll second that motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That ordinance passes. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Gregory. There is no business agenda items tonight, but there is an item I see under administration reports. So that would be our financial director is going to come and update us on our debt.
Thank
I
you.
will explain this in just a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When I came to the city of Shelton, one of the tasks I was asked to deal with was sorting out the city's debt, figuring out who we owe money to and how much money we owe to them. And I've spent some time working on that, and I have that information for you. That's the schedule you're looking at there tonight. There are three pieces of the debt picture I want to talk about. One of them is before you right now. There are two others that if you look at our annual financial report, you'll see that on the Schedule 9, which is our debt schedule. The other two pieces, I'll touch briefly on the ones that'll show up on the debt schedule for Schedule 9, but aren't necessarily here. Those two pieces are liability for pensions and compensated absences. And I would describe those two debt pieces as potential liabilities or potential debt, because in order for those liabilities to become payable, we would have to cease operations and shut down City Hall, basically. One of those is the compensated absences, and that is a fairly recent requirement that the state auditor has imposed on all governmental entities in Washington State. Within the last 5 years or so, governmental entities have been required to report the liability for compensated absences as of the end of the prior year. So that's one of the pieces that you will see on the debt schedule. So depending on people's leave balances at the end of the year and what their hourly rate of pay is, that number can be pretty varied depending on the entity. So you'll see that on our Schedule 9, but the only way that that debt becomes an actual debt is if we shut down City Hall and everybody goes home. The other debt that shows up on the Schedule 9 is the pension liabilities. This is a fairly recent requirement of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and it's a requirement where all governmental entities have to report a potential liability that they could be responsible for in the event that the Washington State retirement systems were to fail. And the state auditor's office, again, has required, based on instruction from GASB, from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, they are requiring all governmental entities to report this on their Schedule 9. So you'll see that number on the Schedule 9 as well. We get that number through a fairly elaborate calculation process that some of the information is provided to us by the state auditor's office, and some of it is from Department of Retirement Systems. So those two items are what I would call virtual debts or potential debts. They only come to pass if either City Hall completely shuts down and we all go home, or the Department of Retirement Systems completely fails. So I don't consider those concrete necessarily debts. The third piece is the piece you have in front of you, and that is the what I would describe as actual current debts of the city. The way that it's being presented to you is on an annual summary basis, and the pages you see start with 2015. So I've gone back 2 years and I've gone forward 5 years. So the first page you will see is a debt schedule for the year 2015. On the left-hand side down the page shows each individual debt item, shows when it was initiated, when it matures, the current year beginning balance, interest paid, principal paid, total annual debt service cost, and the current year ending balance. Each page represents 1 year summary. So you have 2015 through 2022 in the document that I've provided to you. And I will be running that all the way out to in the 2050s, whenever the last debt gets paid off. As you can see from this, at the end of 2015, the city had $47,903,835.40 in debt for all of these items listed. As of the end of 16, it dropped down to $45,765,000 and some change. And at the end of 2017, this year, it will drop down to just under $43,588,000, et cetera, going through the years. What we had before in tracking our debt was this basically large paperclip that is now an artifact with green ledger paper and some calculator tape and a variety of entries, some in pen, some in pencil, and some copies of debt schedules from various loans. And basically all of this has been translated into this. So hopefully now we have a better picture of what we owe, who we owe it to, and when it's going to get paid off and what our payments are. So at that juncture, I'm going to stop and see if you have any questions so far.
I have questions. I appreciate this very much. This would have been kind of beneficial to have kind of all along, but it clarifies things and makes things a lot easier. The main reason I was concerned about bringing this forward is because I know that sometimes there's opportunities to refinance debt, and that I am looking at possibilities that the city might be able to lower its water and sewer rates. I look at things that are really important to the citizens, and to me, I just feel that based on the income levels of our city, that if there's a possibility of extending some of this debt out a little farther, that we might be able to lower some of these payments a little, and it might be something to where we might actually, instead of just telling people we're going to hold it here for this year, we might actually be able to possibly in the years to come lower their monthly payments a little bit. And so this would be the vehicle we would need to even look at that. I mean, before we had this, we would not be able to see which are bonds, which are debts, which does that opportunity avail itself. Is it something we want to entertain? All I know is it's my job to attempt to look at options on how we might be able to lower those rates, and this would be a tool that we'd have to do that. So that's why it interests me, and it is exciting to see within a few years, even by 2018, this, I think one of these debts is gone. I think that's
correct.
I mean, there are some debts that are, going to be gone, but I do know that I would like to see if any of these could be possibly refinanced in order to alleviate some of the burden on our taxpayers.
We can certainly look into that.
This makes it so much easier to
Good.
understand, really easy to understand.
Good.
Thank you very much for your hard work on this.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it very much.
I am very pleased that our debt is much lower than we were afraid of. I mean, it's been reported over the years at varying levels, and this is actually pretty much in line with the number that we got last summer. So I, too, am very happy that it is much easier to watch our debt payment, watch the principal paid, the interest paid, the schedule. It's fabulous. And I am very happy that you've done this. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
We've come a long ways from that pile from the archives.
So it's a little easier to understand, yes.
It's much easier. Thank you so much for your hard work.
You're welcome.
And there was one other question, and I don't know if you can do this in a few sentences because it's quite complicated, and that's, that this does not reflect any of the long-term, like retirement, or debt obligations through retirement, or, remember we had kind of talked a little bit about that there is another figure, and, I don't know how to best explain it, but we do owe money beyond this amount.
That's the potential pension liability that I talked about earlier.
And I don't know for the public's consumption if you have the ability to say what that is or what that amount of debt would be, because it is still money that the city does.
I would need to check on that.
Absolutely.
I would need to look back at
I
the
wouldn't want you to
annual
say,
reports.
yeah, I wouldn't want you to say something that wasn't correct. But this is work well done, greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
This is one of those pieces of paper that will go in my drawer. I won't throw this away. In fact, I'll take it to Disneyland.
If you lose
and
it, I
I'll-
have more, though.
Huh?
If you lose it, though, I have more.
Yeah, well, you got the hard copy, but I was going to take this to Disneyland with me here later this week, and then when I'm sitting in between my rides, I can just kind of
Yeah.
go
There you
over
go.
this, so.
There you go.
Is there anything else you want to tell us? Is
Nope.
that it? Are we done with the questions then?
Yeah, I have one more question. So the potential debts and liabilities are the ones that you said that are not relevant to our actual debt amount unless DRS fails for the retirement, or if we were to, I suppose, unincorporate.
We would have to shut down City Hall, and all of our employees would get laid off, and everybody's vacation and sick leave would get cashed out.
Okay.
That would be the compensated absences liability. And then the pension liability is a number that is actuarially calculated and provided as part of a formula that we use to come up with a debt amount. This is a fairly new reporting requirement that came from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And it's one of those potential debts that, in order for that to become an actual debt for the city, the Washington State retirement systems would have to fail. And we have one of the strongest retirement systems in the country. So it's not likely that would happen, and it's not likely that City Hall would shut down. But theoretically, those two things could happen.
Okay, and I suppose that, so the amount that we don't have to budget for that amount because it's unlikely that that would happen, and we would be liquidating assets if that were to happen.
That's true. When
Okay.
we build the budget, we will be looking at, we will be projecting likely retirements that might happen during any calendar year, and we'll be estimating what the cash out would be for leave for those people who could likely retire in a given budget year. So that's one of the pieces of building the budget that I do always build into wages and benefits. So I'll be working on that for the 2018 budget based on what could we reasonably expect as far as retirements in 2018.
And I guess those numbers are pretty fluid always, because we don't know from year to year, or we could have, like in the last couple of years, we've had a number of long-term employees that have retired. So those numbers would be higher, or that amount would be higher than in a year where we don't have any retirees.
We can usually budget fairly accurately for those things.
Okay.
I mean, historically, I've been able to budget pretty accurately for projected retirements. Not exactly, of course, but pretty accurately.
Thank you so much.
You're
Great
welcome.
information.
Sure.
That concludes your report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next is our city manager. I'll get that one straight someday. Did you have any other final touches?
Just two quick reminders. Tonight, we have the Basin 3 open house, which is going to run until 8 o'clock. It's here in the Civic Center. And then tomorrow, our staff will join the county and FEMA out in Belfair, where they will do I think Tracy mentioned, they'll do a flood zone meeting, and they're going to update folks. We have a few folks in town that are affected, and if they'd like more information, they can certainly head out there tomorrow.
What time is that tomorrow?
4:30 to 8:30.
Yeah, I'm sorry I won't be able to attend to that.
That's it.
Very good. And so our next meeting will be March 27th at 2 p.m. unless we choose not to have that. So we don't know. There's nothing on the docket, I think, at the moment. So we are still announcing that we are having a meeting next week. Okay. Thank you very much. This meeting's adjourned.